Did you know that if you started walking along Spain's entire coastline at a steady pace of 30 kilometers per day, it would take you more than 260 days to complete? Or that Spain's average altitude is the second highest among major European countries? What if I told you that the largest badlands desert landscape in Europe is located in Spain? Well, Spain is full of crazy facts like these, so settle in because we're about to reel off 10 of the wildest facts about Spain that you probably never knew. Fact 1. Spain's average altitude is the second highest among major European countries. Spain's average altitude is about 650 meters above sea level, which makes it the second highest among major European countries, right after Switzerland. To put this into perspective, 650 meters is higher than most of France, Germany, Italy, or the United Kingdom. In fact, if you were to drive from Madrid, which already sits at roughly 667 meters above sea level, straight down to the coastal city of Valencia, you would descend hundreds of meters in altitude before reaching the Mediterranean Sea. The reason behind this high altitude is mostly due to the Meseta Central, a huge plateau that covers 60 to 65% of peninsular Spain. And almost everywhere you go on the plateau, you remain above 600 to 700 meters, making the country feel like a natural rooftop compared to the rest of Western Europe. Speaking of rooftops, Spain is also home to some incredibly high mountain ranges such as the Pyrenees, the Cantabrian Mountains, the Sistema Ibérico, the Sistema Central, and the Sierra Nevada. And do you know what is even more surprising? About 24% of Spain lies above 1,000 meters, which means almost a quarter of the country sits at altitudes that, in many nations, would be considered mountainous regions. Fact 2. Spain is the fourth largest country in Europe. When measuring its full national territory, Spain covers about 505,370 square kilometers. This makes Spain the fourth largest country in Europe after Russia, Ukraine, and France. To put this into context, Spain is more than 10 times the size of the Netherlands, about 6 times the size of Austria, and roughly 5 times the size of Portugal. If you drove across the entire width of Spain, from the Atlantic coast near La Coruña to the Mediterranean coast near Barcelona, you would travel almost 1,000 kilometers, which shows just how geographically wide the country is. Even when we look only at peninsular Spain, the area still ranges between 493,653 and 504,782 square kilometers, depending on measurement methods. That still keeps Spain firmly in fourth place in Europe. Spain's size allows it to hold over 5 major climate types, making it one of the most geographically diverse countries in Europe. But size is only part of the story. Spain also has one of the longest coastlines in Europe. The mainland coastline is about 4,964 kilometers long, stretching across the Atlantic Ocean in the north and west and the Mediterranean Sea in the east and south. When you include the Balearic Islands and the Canary Islands, the total coastline stretches to approximately 7,955 kilometers. If you started walking along Spain's entire coastline at a steady pace of 30 kilometers per day, it would take you more than 260 days to complete the journey. Fact 3. Mulhacén is the highest peak on mainland Spain. If you stand in southern Spain and look toward the snowy horizon of Andalusia, the first giant that will catch your eye is Mulhacén, the highest mountain on mainland Spain. Rising 3,481 meters above sea level, it sits in the Sierra Nevada range, a chain that forms one of Europe's most spectacular high-altitude landscapes. If you were to stand on top of Mulhacén on a clear day, you could see far across the Mediterranean Sea, almost towards North Africa. In fact, Mulhacén is taller than all the mountains in the Pyrenees. It is named after Muley Hassan, the 15th century ruler of the Nasrid Kingdom of Granada, and legend says he was buried somewhere on its slopes. Its geological roots stretch back millions of years to the collision of the African and Eurasian tectonic plates. That collision lifted the Sierra Nevada to impressive heights, creating a region where you can ski in the morning and swim in the Mediterranean Sea only 45 kilometers away in the afternoon. Fact 4. Aviles Canyon is one of the deepest underwater canyons in the world. Plunging almost 5,000 meters beneath the ocean's surface, the Aviles Canyon is one of the deepest underwater canyons on Earth. To understand how deep that is, you can stack Mulhacen and the Burj Khalifa on top of each other and you still would not reach the canyon's base. The Aviles Canyon is part of the Aviles Submarine Canyon System, which stretches for about 100 kilometers into the Bay of Biscay. It descends so quickly and so dramatically that some parts drop more than 3,000 meters within a horizontal distance of just 20 to 25 kilometers, making it one of the steepest underwater features on Earth. Cold, nutrient-rich waters rise from the depths, supporting massive biodiversity, from deep-sea corals to commercial fish stocks. This canyon did not form overnight. Scientists believe it was shaped over millions of years by sediments, underwater landslides, and glacial meltwater flows during the ice ages. Fact 5. Spain has some of the most notable lakes in Europe. One of the most famous lakes in Spain is Lake Sanabria. It is the largest glacial lake in the Iberian Peninsula, covering 3.68 square kilometers and reaching depths of around 51 meters. It formed more than 100,000 years ago during the last major glaciation, when a glacier more than 20 kilometers long carved the Sanabria Valley. Today, Lake Sanabria is a magnet for tourism, biodiversity, and climate study. If you travel about 300 kilometers south from Lake Sanabria into central Spain, you reach the Bularque Reservoir, a lake not created by nature but by engineering. Bularque is known for storing enormous amounts of water for irrigation, drinking supply, and hydroelectric power. Spain is one of the top 5 most dam-active countries in the world, so the Bularque Reservoir plays a critical role in national water management. However, Spain's lakes are not only glacial or artificial. Some are shaped by unique hydrological behavior. If you head roughly 200 kilometers east of Bularque toward Aragon, you find Lake Gallocanta, Spain's largest endorheic or saline lake. Endorheic means the water does not flow to the sea. Instead, it evaporates, leaving minerals and salt behind. Lake Gallocanta covers an area that varies seasonally between 11 and 14 square kilometers. During wet years, it becomes a critical stop for more than 100,000 migrating cranes traveling between northern Europe and Africa. In dry seasons, much of the lake evaporates, revealing massive salt flats. This makes Gallocanta one of the most important inland wetlands in Western Europe and a rare landscape type in the Spanish geographic system. Fact 6. Spain has 5 major rivers. The longest river fully inside Spain is the Ebro, stretching 940 kilometers from the Cantabrian Mountains to the Mediterranean Sea. It carries more water than any other river on the Iberian Peninsula, forming the Ebro Delta, one of Europe's most productive rice-growing regions. To put it in perspective, the delta covers 320 square kilometers, almost as large as the entire island nation of Malta. But if you travel southwest from the Ebro's source, you meet the Tajo, the longest river on the Iberian Peninsula altogether, although only 716 kilometers of its total length lie inside Spain. The Tajo runs 1,007 kilometers in total, flowing through major cities like Toledo and Lisbon. Just north of the Tajo flows the Duero, stretching 703 kilometers in Spain before continuing into Portugal. The Duero region is famous for wine production, especially port wine, and its valley includes some of the oldest continuously cultivated vineyards in the world. Further south, if you follow the plains of La Mancha and Extremadura, you'll reach Guadiana, flowing 659 kilometers inside Spain. This river has a strange characteristic. In some stretches, it disappears underground because of the porous limestone terrain. Historically, the Guadiana marked the frontier between Muslim and Christian territories during the Middle Ages, and today it forms part of the modern Spain-Portugal border. Finally, when you continue south towards Andalusia, you meet the famous Guadalquivir, stretching 657 kilometers. Its basin is home to Seville, Cordoba, and some of Spain's richest farmlands. The Guadalquivir Valley produces massive amounts of olives, and the river's fertile plains have been farmed for more than 4,000 years. Its name comes from the Arabic al-Wadi al-Kabir, meaning the Great River. Fact 7. Bardenas Reales is Europe's largest badlands desert landscape. Bardenas Reales is a protected natural park that covers 42,500 hectares of land, which makes it almost the size of the entire city of Madrid and large enough to be considered Europe's biggest badlands desert landscape. What makes this even more surprising is that Spain is a country many people imagine as beaches and olive groves, yet it hides a desert region that looks like a mixture of the American Southwest and Mongolia's dry plateaus. Bardenas Reales formed over millions of years through a combination of wind erosion, sudden seasonal rainfall, and the slow carving action of streams. Its landscape is made of clay, sandstone, and gypsum, which erode easily, creating its iconic deep ravines, sharp ridges, lonely plateaus, and the famous chimney-like structures such as Castel de Tierra, which rises like a fragile tower in the middle of the desert. Bardenas Reales receives only about 300 to 400 millimeters of rainfall per year, while the temperatures can swing dramatically. Summers often exceed 40 degrees Celsius, while winters can drop close to freezing. Fact 8. Cabo de Gata Níjar is the largest volcanic area on the Spanish mainland, with Miocene lava flows. The volcanic origins of Cabo de Gata date back to the Miocene period, around 15 to 20 million years ago, when the collision of the African and Eurasian plates created magma chambers that repeatedly erupted across this region. When you walk through Cabo de Gata today, you are actually stepping on ancient Miocene lava flows, volcanic domes, and layers of hardened ash. These rocks give the coastline its rugged cliffs, dark rocky beaches, hidden coves, and underwater volcanic ridges. The famous Reef of the Sirens, Arrecife de las Sarinas, is actually the remains of a volcanic chimney. The area once had dozens of active vents, and the entire coastline from Cabo de Gata to Carboneras is essentially a fossilized volcanic arc. Cabo de Gata covers over 37,000 hectares, making it one of Spain's largest coastal protected areas. Also, the region receives less than 200 millimeters of rainfall per year, some of the lowest in all of Europe. The combination of volcanic geology and extreme dryness creates something close to a volcanic desert by the sea. Fact 9. Galicia's rias form Europe's largest estuary system with drowned river valleys. Located in the autonomous community of Galicia, these rias are long, narrow inlets that look like fjords at first glance, but they are actually drowned river valleys created at the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, when melting glaciers caused global sea levels to rise by more than 120 meters. As the Atlantic Ocean flooded the mouths of Galician rivers, it created a network of coastal estuaries so extensive that Galicia now holds Europe's largest ria system, beating regions like Brittany and France. There are 4 major rias baixas in the southwest: Vigo, Pontevedra, Arousa, and Muros Nuya, and 4 major rias altas in the north: Ortiguera, Cedera, O Barquidao, and Coruña. Combined together, Galicia's rias stretch for over 1,300 kilometers of coastline, almost the distance from Barcelona to Paris. These rias are not only geographical wonders, they are also economic powerhouses. Because the mix of seawater and river water creates nutrient-rich conditions, the rias produce over 40% of all shellfish consumed in Europe. The mussel farms of the Ria de Arousa alone generate over 200,000 tons of mussels per year, making Galicia the world's second largest mussel producer after China. Fact 10. It does snow in Spain. Spain is often marketed internationally as a warm Mediterranean destination, but the reality is that because of its elevation, Spain receives snow every winter. The Pyrenees can accumulate over 5 meters of snow, while the Sierra Nevada reaches snow levels of 4 to 6 meters at its highest peaks. Mulhacén stays snow-covered for much of the year. The ski resort of Bakira Bare, located in the Pyrenees, is considered one of the best in Europe and receives around 6 meters of snowfall annually. To put this into perspective, Spain has more ski resorts than some northern European countries, with over 30 ski stations scattered across the Pyrenees, the Cantabrian Mountains, the Iberian System, the Central System, and even the southern Sierra Nevada. In fact, the Ebro Basin, Tagus Basin, and Duero Basin all rely partly on melting snow to feed their rivers. If you enjoyed these facts, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. For more geographical facts like these, watch our earlier video, 10 absurd facts about Italy that sound fake but aren't. Trust me, you'll be amazed. Tap your screen right now to watch.